Um, it has been a while since I have posted a video. My apologies. It's just that probably for about the last 8 months I haven't had internet until now. That is my own laziness. But I do fully intend to continue with my current YouTube series. And today's subject is control. Well, control what, you may ask? Well, control everything, really. And by control I mean the mind's desire to control, which is quite a natural thing, because the mind seeks to set a safe environment or a self-protective network for itself. Therefore, control plays into this, because the mind is afraid of what it can't control. But what is comfortable to the mind, what is known to the mind, is a safe environment. And humans, by nature, instinctually, I believe, are seeking to create a safe space for ourselves in a harsh, seemingly violent and hazardous world that we live in. And that doesn't come from the current external circumstances that I'm talking about, the laws that govern society, the potential of murder, the potential of harm, the potential of all these terrible things that can happen. I'm just talking instinctually based upon our ancestors. Obviously, tribes were formed, and that was a safety network of hunter and gatherers, and that has, over time, evolved into what we have now. Although technology has evolved a lot faster than the mind can actually comprehend. So that whole instinctual need, that whole instinctual thing that I just said, sorry, words escape me sometimes, but my point is that that whole instinctual instinct is still deeply implanted in our brains. Even though technology has evolved way, way, way ahead of us, I don't think the mind is caught up yet. And I think our whole self-survival mechanism as well, self-survival mechanism has transformed from being out in the open environment. So, for example, being out in the wilderness like our ancestors, fighting off predators and gathering supplies and gathering food, foraging. I believe that that has evolved to a degree, but it has become more about the ego than about actual survival. Yes, there is the threat of murder. Yes, depending on what country you live in, unfortunately, there is the threat of civil war, of warfare, of weapons, of all kinds of devastating things. It really depends where you're from. But my point remains is that I think that it has transcended the animal kingdom, because obviously, thanks to our intelligence and thanks to technological advances, we have transcended that to a larger degree. Obviously, we're still vulnerable. Like, for example, if you swim in the ocean and, I don't know, it's unlikely, well, it's uncommon in Australia, but you'll get attacked by a shark, or you'll get stung by something, or you get bitten by a snake. So the threat of the animal kingdom is still there, but we have transcended it exponentially because of our intelligence and our ability to ward off these things. But now I believe that has actually transcended to the realm of the mind. And by the realm of the mind, I mean the realm of the ego. Hence, I believe the term was coined dog eat dog world. Well, dog eat dog world comes down to ego eat ego world, in my opinion. So when I say ego, I mean the self-believed image that we believe ourselves to be. So the personality traits, what other people say about us, what we think about ourselves, what we're taught to think about ourselves through parenting, through schooling, through social conditioning, and etc. So that whole identity has now become the self that is vulnerable to the no longer animal kingdom, but I will call it the mental kingdom. So ego eat ego world. But the main topic of this is control. That was just a preface to what I'm actually trying to get across to you, is that there are very limited things in the world that we can actually control. And I will bring this close to home. For example, You don't consciously beat your own heart. You don't consciously grow your hair. You don't consciously regenerate your skin cells. You don't consciously command your eyes to see, although you can open and close them at your will. My point remains is that there is very little we can control in this world. And the way society is, I believe, is that our expectations come from a form of attainment. So we want to attain something. We want to attain better friends. We want to attain lovers. We want to attain all these different things. But the thing is that we get disappointed or we get devastated when we can't have these things. And that is because that is because of the lack of understanding of control. What can you control in your own life, actually, with your own conscious attention? Besides, for example, me doing this. Even your own body, your own life support system, supported by the back bit of the brain, the medulla oblongata, is controlled outside of your conscious attention. So even your own body, most of its life support systems, actually I would say all of them, I mean you could stop breathing, you wouldn't die, you'd pass out, and your body's life support system would kick in anyway. But even your own body, in its most vital aspects, the aspects of survival, are beyond your control. So that should be something to look to internally, and you should come to the realization, I believe, is that if you can't even control the facets of the most vital aspects of your own body, what chance do you have of controlling what's happening around you? And this is where disappointment plays into it, because we have the expectation. We have the expectation of our friends, we have the expectation of our family, we have the expectations of society, we have all these different expectations. And yet we wonder why we're disappointed when they're not fulfilled. The reason they're not fulfilled is because we don't have control over these factors. These factors, at the very most part, can be perhaps influenced, but not controlled. How well you influence something in society or in life comes down to your level of skill in that area. But really, what I'm trying to say is that I don't believe that you should be disheartened or disappointed over things you can't control, and that is because you can't control them. There are so many things in this world: nature, climate change, evolution, the universe, an asteroid hitting this earth for Christ's sake. There are so many things in this world that we can't actually control. So therefore, what I'm saying is, why worry about it? Why worry about if someone meets your needs or demands if you can't control that person? If you can't control what they do, you have no control over what they do. You have little control over yourself. The only thing we have is conscious attentions, which is the reason why we're self-aware in the first place. And guess what? That facility is beyond our control as well, because we are all born with consciousness. We are all born with the awareness that we are what we are. You shouldn't stress about things in your life you can't control. There are so many things that could happen to you that you have no control over. But you shouldn't get down or disheartened, because there are things within you that you can control as well. And these are the things you need to focus on. These are the tools, these are the arrows you need to sharpen in your quiver in order to proceed on the path that you want. You need to let go of what you can't control in this world, because there's so much. You can't control when you're going to die. You had no control over when you were born. The fact that you were even conceived is decided for you. But what can you control? That is the question you need to ask. What is it within you that you have control over? When you begin to understand this, it becomes vital. It becomes necessary, because all the tools that you have at your disposal can become valuable assets to you in achieving the goal that you want. My name is Daniel, and I'm signing off. Thank you.